Welcome to the Back Row Fantasy Show with your hosts, Jeremy Barker, Aaron Arms, and Chad Niddle.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Back Row Fantasy Show. This is Bark. To my left is Arms.
Good morning.
And to my right is not Niddle, it's Lambert.
Hey.
Hey. Niddle's out with an unknown sickness related to foreplay.
Or work.
Oh, work.
Work.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, Niddle's out for a work-related illness, but we had a interesting Week 7 where the Browns, again, could not close it out in overtime. So,
swear to God, I thought they were tying again.
Yeah, it looked that way.
I'm sure they wish they would have.
4 times this year, I believe, they've went into overtime. 4 times.
Yep.
Just can't get it done.
This is just insanity to me. Like, it's like, oh man, the amazing thing is they are apparently very competitive. I mean, it doesn't matter who they're playing with. They're not really getting just smacked off the page around from anybody, but they're going into overtime with everybody. Still losing, more often than not. But man, it's
still encouraging.
It is encouraging because, last year they played a lot of close games, but they weren't going to overtime and losing. They were just losing. They may be hanging around in the fourth quarter, but they're still out.
They went from being absolutely terrible to being Miami Dolphins level bad.
So still absolutely terrible.
Well, maybe that was a terrible example.
They went from atrocious to bad.
Yeah, that's a step up, though, at least.
They're no longer historically bad.
No.
That's true.
They're just historically well below average.
Yes. But
Hugh's seat's cooling down, too.
It is. But it's coming. Like, the wins are coming. I'm not going to say multiple as in more than 2, but the wins are coming. They got to finish with at least 4. I can't see them finishing with less than 4 wins, which is a huge victory. It's parade worthy.
I mean, if they just paced out the rest of the season what they're doing, they'd barely have 4 wins. I mean, it's
probably 4 ties.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time in the season, though, too. A 4-loss team, you still have the option of going 11-4-1.
I really wanted to see, every time they go into overtime, I'm like, give us another tie.
No doubt.
Give us a tie's a win.
I would love to see somebody sneak into the playoffs because they have 6 ties.
Oh, wouldn't it be great?
But yeah, so the Browns, we kind of typically lead the show off with that just to see what they're doing, just to see what's going on. But we'll jump right into fantasy land. Patrick Mahomes, your top quarterback again. Not that he's done it every single week, but he's done it more weeks than not. Patrick Mahomes throwing up 4 touchdowns, back to his multi-touchdown ways against the Houday Cats.
I'm just going to go ahead and say he's pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, hard-hitting analysis right there.
Anomaly.
But you said he's not that it does it every week. Yeah, I mean, pretty much does.
I meant number 1.
I was going to say, against the Jaguars, he had 21 points.
Not good for number 1.
Lowest by 10 points all season. The lowest point total he's had.
Yeah, kid's good.
He is good.
22 touchdowns through the first 7 games.
Is it ever going to come to, where it's not just easy for him?
Honestly, it's so enjoyable to watch. I kind of hope not.
Right.
I kind of hope not, too. I hope he...
Well, I mean, they've kind of set out rules to protect quarterbacks and add as much scoring as possible. So the way he throws, the way he plays, it's just... I don't see him regressing.
No, I don't either. And it seems like they did that right before he gets a starting job. Like, ooh, they traded Alex Smith. Let's go change some rules. Free up Tyreek the Freak and make sure Patty Ice can hit him in stride. Cornerbacks not allowed to touch receivers at all.
You know what? Just
You're welcome,
tie
Patty.
both your hands behind your back. Put a shackle on one leg with a ball and chain, and all right, now it's even. Now it's even, and don't target anybody.
Yeah,
right.
You cornerbacks, you're just too speedy. We got to do something about
Those
that.
receivers are
Too
so
fast.
defenseless.
Yeah, poor little guys. Poor
6'6" high pointing guys. Like you need some help to get these 5'10" people off your back. It's like mosquitoes chasing you. We don't like it.
But mosquitoes are absolutely horrible to deal with. They're annoying.
Very annoying. Very very pestery, and they'll knock shit out of your hands if they're big enough. Now you carrying a can of pop down the street, a mosquito come right by and knock it out. Fumble.
Where in God's name are
What
you seeing mosquitoes?
are you dealing with?
You've never been to Florida?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've just never seen a mosquito like that.
That's where the Mothman prophecies came from.
Okay.
Yeah, they fly up to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and they knock your drink out of your hand, and they go back to Florida.
Yeah, that's totally how that happened.
That's exactly how it
They
happened.
took out a bridge on the way.
They took, yeah.
That was
Totally
silver.
accident.
Looked like an aluminum can.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh.
Gotcha. I see what you did there.
Smack bridge. Get out of here. But yeah, the top 10 fantasy quarterbacks for this week looks like the top 10 fantasy quarterbacks in a draft. Either this year or 1 year past. Yeah, Andrew Luck's in there, but I mean it's big names. Mahomes.
So's Flacco.
Yeah, I was going to say Joe Flacco's in there, though. And Dak Prescott's in there.
And
too.
Jameis.
Wait. Never mind. I had it sorted by yards. I apologize. I'm like, what?
Well, that's okay because I had it sorted weeks 1 through 7, so it's not all the
All right,
biggest names in
Flacco's
football.
still in there at 9, and I'm not picking him up in that range.
No, but Mahomes, Mitchell Trubisky's kind of on a tear. Can we say that Mitchell Trubisky is a good quarterback for fantasy purposes now?
So since week 4, he had the bye in there. He had 354 yards and 6 touchdowns, 316 yards and 3 touchdowns, and 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's had 11 touchdowns and 1,000 yards.
Seems to be benefiting Gabriel. Trey Burton had a big game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean he's finding the open guy. He's not force feeding it. It's not a Allen Robinson or bust situation like a lot of people thought it would be.
Yep.
And speaking of Trey Burton is very quietly putting together an absolute monstrosity of a season. 5 straight weeks, 9.5 fantasy points or more, and he's got 4 touchdowns in that time frame.
Yeah, that's and then the
great
tight
for a
end
tight end,
landscape.
yep.
Exactly.
And
we talk about that all the time.
He looked rough. I mean, week 1, 2.5 points. I think I'd had him as a must start, and everyone's like, Trey Burton? I'm like, dude, he's going to be fine. He is fine. Just week 1 was a really bad one for him. It took a while
Kevin
to break
White
his
even
average.
caught a pass yesterday.
He did
Two
at the very
passes,
end.
yeah.
Did he catch 2?
Two.
Yeah, he caught 2.
Oh.
The one, he fell at the 1 yard
Did he
line.
break anything when he did it?
What, did he fall at the 1 yard line and then get tackled at the 1 yard
no,
line?
He got tackled at the 1.
Wait a minute. He got tackled and fell at the 1.
This is the first.
I saw this game, but I just want to make sure. Did he go down?
He got tackled at the 1, walked
Did he
away
hit
from it.
Did he hit the ground?
Yes.
He's hurt.
He
Something
He'll
wrong.
Actually,
He'll be on the injury
no,
report.
they stopped his forward progress. Like he actually didn't hit the ground, so he may not be hurt.
Did they tackle him hard?
No, it was
He
just
might be okay.
it was a gang
Remember, he's
tackle.
a poor defenseless receiver.
Speaking of 6'5", 6'6" monster,
that poor defenseless receiver.
Just stop him.
I mean this is the
Push
first,
him.
I believe the first 2 targets of Kevin White's season.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is pathetic.
he hasn't gotten any. He's if he's healthy, I don't know why you don't give him a shot unless you're just trying to protect him from getting hurt.
Why pay him?
Trade bait. Hey, he caught his first 2
Maybe
passes.
maybe he's a nice guy.
Whatever.
Maybe he's an extremely nice fella.
I'm a nice fella. Pay me a couple $1 million a year to run some routes and sit on the bench.
But listen, Trubisky also something I didn't foresee out of Trubisky. It looks like he's going for the league rushing title. He's
Yeah.
actually ran for 245 yards.
Watch out, Cam Newton.
Yeah, watch out, Cam. Mitch is in the house.
He'll start showing the S on his chest.
That's right.
I definitely didn't know that part was in his game.
I did not either. And oddly enough, he finished right beside Cam, then breaking down the rest of the top 10. Andrew Luck putting together a good season. Tom Brady putting together a good season.
Well, Luck's putting together a good fantasy season.
Yeah,
It
he
doesn't
is.
seem like the Colts
yeah.
are putting a good season
I
together.
probably should have phrased that different because the Colts are what? Their record's bad. They're bad, okay?
Yeah, the Colts are not a good team right now.
Which is odd because now they've got Marlon Mack, who apparently has decided he's going to take that job and run with it. I bet you've got studs fantasy-wise in Ebron, Mack the past 2 weeks, Darius Leonard, Andrew Luck. Like, the team's full of fantasy assets, but they can't win NFL football games.
I think it's that defense.
Yeah, Darius Leonard is pretty much the only thing good about the defense. Maybe a little hooker.
But kind of on the same mold as like the Browns, not quite as competitive, but they're in games. I mean, they lose to the Bengals, it's an 11-point game. They're within reach, right?
Right.
They beat the Redskins, lose to the Eagles, but it's a 4-point game. That's a defending Super Bowl champion.
Right.
Texans, it was a 3-point game. Patriots, it was up to a 14-point game, so that's 2 possessions. But the Jets, it's an 8-point loss. And then, of course, they win against the Bills, but it's also, I think they're Division II now.
They're very Browns-like. The Colts are very Browns-like. Yeah, they could pull it off, but, most likely they're not going to.
The one beautiful thing about the Colts is they do have the offensive firepower to actually get it done. They've already got their quarterback. They know they have their quarterback in place, and there's no quote-unquote experiment going on. There's no one, trying to push him for the job and no controversies. He's a stud. Andrew Luck is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He looks like everything that he was anticipated to be whenever he was drafted.
Going that far back, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think we made a mistake drafting Andrew Luck.
Yeah, but, I mean...
Dude's almost 30.
I understand that, but what I'm getting at is he's well established in his role. They need to support him.
They thought he was.
Exactly. And even coming back through the injury, he's back to Andrew Luck.
Right.
Hey, by all means, a lot of people are like, well, you got to draft a quarterback. He's hurt. He may never play again. You got to draft a quarterback. Like, we're just going to roll with Jacoby Brissett for a year. Right. See how that turns out.
Wasn't terrible.
It wasn't. It was no worse record-wise than what they are now.
That maybe Jacoby Brissett's a trade target for the Jags, who benched Blake Bortles yesterday for Cody Kessler. Is his name Cody? Is it Corey?
Cody.
Get him confused, like the Cody Corey in our league. I can never, sometimes it's
we have
Cody,
a Corey in our league.
No, it's Cody.
Oh, okay,
it's Cody. But sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, Corey.
That's awesome.
Maybe it's because I live down by the quarry.
Something like that.
But Carson Wentz had a good week, a good game. Jameis Winston. You ever have a hard time just looking at Jameis Winston? He's got like this face that you just don't want to look at. I know I'm taking it like a hard left turn, but like every time I watch Jameis Winston play, like he just always looks constipated. He's got a strange look on his face like 99% of the time.
I've never noticed that, actually.
Go back and watch and just look at Jameis Winston's face.
Should I Google Jameis Winston constipated face?
I don't think you have to Google constipated face. Just Google Jameis Winston. Do it right now. Google Jameis Winston and look at his face and tell me that he doesn't look just purely constipated in every single picture. Because he does, man. Jameis Winston, maybe that's why he's able to throw the ball down.
I don't know. Almost every picture on Google Images it looks like they just lost.
Exactly.
Every picture of him is like disappointment.
But I mean, it also could be like toilet face, right? Like everyone I'm looking at right now is toilet face. Like
how bad have you struggled in your career to have every single image on Google Images be like, I cannot believe they made that field goal.
That is, every single picture is just disappointment. Every single one of them. Like it's
even when he's throwing, he looks disappointed.
It's
like he's mid-throw in this one. He just looks like
constipated. Yeah, I mean, every picture looks like he's watching Fitzmagic run away with his job. Like every single one of them. But Jameis Winston has been fantasy relevant since he's came back. Wouldn't exactly call his play great. It's decent. I mean, I think he's definitely put to rest.
Some weapons.
Yeah, he's got some weapons.
Well, he has to do it because they don't have a run game.
That's very true. Peyton Barber did nothing. I think he ran for 30 yards this week, and he was my only option in one league, so a little sad about that. But
the good news is Rojo's not taking that job.
Rojo is not taking that job, but you still won't trade him, will you?
No.
No. He's got
gotta have faith.
Got too much invested in this guy. Like, I get that. I get that.
Just the ridiculous part about it is whenever you put up, 26 points, and the quarterback has none in the air. Not a single touchdown there. Yeah, he chips in one on the ground, 55 yards rushing, but Ronald Jones, on his 6 carries, ends up with, getting
a
in
touchdown.
Getting in the end zone. And Deshaun Jackson, wide receiver, rushing touchdown. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't think he caught a ball till the end of the game.
You're expecting Jameis, if anything's going to happen, you're expecting Jameis Winston to, especially if they're going to win the game, you're expecting him to put it in the end zone a few times.
Right. So. Yeah, Deshaun owners should have sold after the first handful of games. They should have sold after the first handful of games because Deshaun Jackson's not a top-tier wide receiver. I think we all knew that going in. But regardless of not being able to pull it out, Baker did finish as the top 10 QB this week, as did Flacco, as mentioned earlier, and Rivers. And I got to throw that special mention out to 11 and 12 in our league format, Kirk Cousins, just because, it's Kirk Cousins. And Dak Prescott, just quietly stringing together a couple decent games in a row.
Making Arms worry.
I don't know if there's worry.
It's the ground touchdowns, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't get in the end zone on the ground, he's nowhere near that.
He seemed to throw better the past couple of weeks.
He seems far more comfortable taking off whenever it's necessary. And if the Cowboys are going to win, that's what he has to do. I mean, it can't be solely on Zeke and him, hitting receivers in the hands, because most of the time he doesn't. Other than that, whenever he does hit a receiver, they're not catching it. They don't have any good receivers out there. I mean, they're bright spots. Cole Beasley every few weeks.
Cole.
And I'm not confident going forward with that as my my number one.
No.
Is anyone else?
No, and like Lambert was saying earlier, the trade winds are swirling around Amari Cooper, possibly being a Dallas Cowboy. And to anybody who has Amari or traded Amari, that's another thing we were talking about this morning. His arms was scraping his windshields. Was Amari Cooper, if you traded him recently and he ends up on Dallas, that's a win. That's a total victory. Like, what's he going to do on Dallas that he didn't do in Oakland? Like, Dak Prescott's not going to turn him into a superstar. Dak Prescott, his huge games are 247 yards passing. Those are his big ones. So
he had 273 this week, but one touchdown.
Right.
Right. And like Lambert said,
it's not an upgrade from Dak to Carr.
No, the Raiders throw. Like, Dak Carr's throwing, or Dak Carr. Dak Carr!
We should just
Derek Carr.
Sound like you were from Boston. There.
Hey, Dak Carr!
Dak Carr.
It's Dak Carr. No, he's throwing for 300 plus more often than he's not. And that's usually a lot of completions. Dak, 16 completions, couple hundred yards. That's not enough to get Amari to an elite level of production. So if he does go to Dallas, it's a win for all owners that traded Amari Cooper. Lambert.
Oh, yeah.
Then it's a win for the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, definitely a win for the Cowboys.
I've liked Michael Gallup's talent before the draft. This week, he showed something.
Finally.
3 for 81 yards and a touchdown, but there's been many times that he's been open and been targeted and comes away with not a catch. Hearns never bounced back in Dallas the way I thought he would. He's looked okay the last few weeks, but for the biggest part of the season, Hearns is kind of someone I've got him on several teams and haven't played him one time.
It's all on Dak, though.
As you say, I probably won't play him through any bye weeks, and then of course Beasley could have 10 catches and get 60 yards.
Right.
Or he could have 10 catches and get 150 yards. He's going
Dak's deep ball.
He's going to get, it's a decent fair share of targets every week. So
Agreed. Quarterbacks that killed you, the turds of the week, so to speak. Marcus Mariota, surprise. Didn't really do much for you, but poop in your eyes. That was terrible. I wish I should edit that out, but I'm not going to. Poop in your eyes, really?
It rhymed.
It's so early. It did rhyme. I mean, it was very, rap god level. Sam Darnold didn't do much for you. Alex Smith, Deshaun Watson. Is it time to worry about Deshaun Watson if you're a Deshaun Watson owner?
If you're a Deshaun Watson owner, have you been starting him?
More than likely.
Think about that.
You probably paid the price for him.
But there's just so many. I mean, he's currently still a top 10 quarterback, but the inconsistencies are, 17, 32, 35, 42, 31, 11, 15. You're like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
You still have Nook. Throw him the damn ball.
And he's got an interception in every single game until yesterday.
It's called consistency.
It's
okay.
Just not looking that great for Deshaun Watson. He's got to get into a rhythm, or I don't know what they're missing. I mean, technically they have better wide receivers than they've had since I can remember. I mean, Kiki Kuti is pretty good, and Will Fuller is a great deep threat. DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Miller showed he can still get it done a little bit, so I'm not sure what's lacking or
Miller
what's
looked
missing.
okay last night. Like, what's the problem? I don't know the answer to that question. I wish I did, but
The only thing I can figure the problem is Deshaun. I mean,
But I mean,
For now, I'm not saying he won't come out of it.
they do come through and win the game, So is that something you necessarily need to worry about?
He didn't win the game for us, damn it.
Okay.
We're talking fantasy.
I understand that, but I don't have a worry about him potentially maybe losing a job or anything like that. The worry is that if you're keeping him in your starting lineup, do you try to get that name recognition and bring someone else in? You try to
No, you can't bail on him. He's your guy, but
why not? Why not? Though I mean, there's a lot of people that would trade a Kirk Cousins because.
We're talking fantasy.
Yeah.
See, look at me going NFL. I'm like, Texans aren't going to replace him.
And Kirk Cousins is a perennial top 6 quarterback. It's like every year he's 3, 4, 5, or 6. A lot of people were like, "Yo, dude, Deshaun Watson." Oh yeah, definitely. He was. I mean, I had him as I think my number 2 or 3 quarterback coming into this season. Just the dual threat that he has.
A lot of people took him as the top quarterback in drafts.
Yeah, and with good reason. The guy's a stud. He's a young stud. Is he going to figure it out? Absolutely. But if I'm in contention this year, I'm looking for someone who's more consistent.
Let's on our way out of the quarterbacks, let's talk Blake Bortles and who could possibly, if anyone else, be under center for the Jags. I mean, if you're going to pull a Blake Bortles mid-game, I don't think that's going to straighten him up for the next game. I don't think the next game you're like, okay, I think he's learned his lesson.
They've done it before, though.
Blake, have you learned your lesson? Exactly. They've done it before. Like, how many times do they got to do it?
I don't know, but I bet they bring him back. He starts next week.
Well,
it's just
more than likely.
He'll probably throw 4 touchdowns. Like, that's the disgusting part about it.
To Mercedes Lewis or some obscure tight end.
Niles Paul.
James O'Shaughnessy. But if they did replace Blake, we talked about it a little bit before we hit that record button. We like to waste gold before we throw it on the air all the time, and then we're like, shoot, we're not recording. Shoot, Blake Bortles. But, I mean, the options we threw out, Eli Manning.
I think that is the Tom Coughlin connection, okay? Eli's history with winning that Blake himself, as the reason for winning, he just doesn't have. And for the love of God, the Jags actually have an offensive line. I mean, are they great? Not like the Cowboys great, but if it gives Eli more than 0.5 seconds to get rid of the ball, I think it's going to be a huge Eli would be a huge asset for that team.
But that's one option. So we got Eli if the Giants felt so inclined to trade him. Would they trade him for Blake Bortles? That would be interesting. Blake Bortles in New York, fresh start. Eli in Jacksonville.
That's what I think is
because Giants fans aren't upset enough.
Exactly. Like, yeah, we passed on QB in the draft and brought in Blake Bortles.
Right. You want to complain about Eli? Okay.
We'll
get Blake.
Well, here's what you get for complaining about Eli.
That'll learn you.
Right.
Also talked about the possibility of Teddy Bridgewater because the Saints are obsessed with Taysom Hill. Absolutely obsessed with this guy.
Absolutely.
The kid looks good, though.
He does. I mean, he's a kind of an athlete. He's like a Cam Newton light out there doing special team stuff and just being just Taysom. But
he's
Teddy
very scrappy.
He is scrappy.
I like the kid.
But Teddy Bridgewater, clear upgrade on Blake at this point, in my opinion. Teddy Bridgewater's a more, game manager-ish, accurate quarterback. That's two things Blake's not. Blake's wannabe Brett Favre, but not quite on the same level as Brett Favre. He's just like, I want to get out there and I want to throw it.
They could go after him, too.
I'm
sure he'd play.
Wouldn't hate it. Wouldn't hate it at all.
Get
Teddy
Bridgewater out.
Bridgewater still has a very limited, body of work in the NFL. What do you give for Teddy Bridgewater?
Blake Bortles.
You're trying to get.
You've just got to get rid of him. That way you're not tempted to go back to him.
I mean, I do think whatever trade happens, if there's trade that happens, which very likely will not, Blake's got to be involved. So there is no, hey, we're going to get back to it.
How about this? Okay, so you got Nick Foles out there, right? Nick Foles is a trade target. Don't know if anybody will acquire him, but Jacksonville acquiring Nick Foles from the Eagles, who desperately need a running back. What about a little Leonard Fournette deal?
That is just pointless.
I mean, you go out and you acquire Carlos Hyde. I'm not. This is just speculative. I'm not saying they're going to trade Leonard Fournette, but you go out and you get Carlos Hyde, who can do what you need him to do. What if Leonard Fournette was a trade piece? What if Jacksonville's like, we don't think this guy's ever going to be healthy? You swing him to a team like the Eagles for a draft pick and Nick Foles? I mean, honestly, Jacksonville is better with Nick Foles, Carlos Hyde than Blake Bortles, Leonard Fournette.
We're looking at like a fantasy draft almost, or fantasy trade, because that.
Yeah,
dude, I'm looking at it and I'm like,
solid idea.
Hey, I want to trade this quarterback and this wide receiver for a quarterback up and wide receiver down.
It's exactly what it is.
I swear that's what I'm thinking
It's like
about.
the Eagles are posted on the NFL, Facebook group because they've got a Facebook group just like us fantasy
Which
guys.
side wins?
Like you get your notification on your phone. The Philadelphia Eagles have posted in NFL group. Hey guys, we're looking to trade Nick Foles and a draft pick for QB down, running back up.
The verified Eagles account on Twitter puts up a poll.
Right. Who should we trade for?
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
It's a 32-teamer.
Trade deadline's in a week, and this is what we're thinking about doing.
I mean, I don't know of anyone else. I mean, do you go after for next to nothing like McCown, Josh McCown?
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick.
Just move him down the road. Bring him up.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing: whenever someone has Bortles on their team, they have one of the best backups in the league. I don't think there's many teams that are going to trade a starter for a starter, but you do have a really solid backup. And if there's got to be 4 backups that are better than Blake Bortles, right?
You would think.
All right, so yeah, I mean, I don't hate the idea. Tyrod Taylor, how about that?
Dorsey seems to be moving a lot of pieces.
He does, and that I guess that could possibly be an upgrade.
I don't like Tyrod Taylor.
Know.
I don't like Tyrod Taylor either, but a lot of NFL GMs do, and they're like,
He's
"Oh,
the
no."
third stringer in Cleveland.
It doesn't matter. He'll never see the field.
I get it, but just wondering. It's just a question.
Have they rostered 3?
I'm not sure. That's something I technically feel like I should know, but I don't think there is. I don't think they roster 3, but they almost have to because Tyrod's been kind of injured here and there. But I don't know if Tyrod's an upgrade. I don't know if Tyrod. I don't know if you're. I don't know if he's the type of quarterback that they need. Like they need.
Well, they need a winner, and
Bridgewater or
Tyrod
Foles.
Taylor's not a winner, so.
No, they need somebody that's just more accurate. Tyrod Taylor, the knock on him is accuracy.
It's Drew Stanton is the Browns' third stringer.
Ooh, man.
Good backup.
So how about targeting Drew Stanton? It is Blake Bortles.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Heck, you could target Johnny Manziel.
I mean, it's freaking Blaine Gabbert 2.0. Let's just call a spade. Blake Bortles is not a good quarterback. He has his moments. Like every quarterback in the NFL has the ability to throw 4 touchdowns in a game. And that's what Bortles does on occasion. And then he follows it up with 173 yards and an interception, no touchdowns.
I think somehow Arms has got Blaine Gabbert under contract that every time Arms says his name, he pays him.
Yeah, he gets royalties for mentioning Blaine Gabbert.
Listen,
always
Blaine Gabbert, I would never do that with Blaine Gabbert. Why would I ever say Blaine Gabbert's name that many times intentionally?
Because he's the only person that would sign that contract.
Yes.
Gotcha.
You know what? Keep me relevant, Arms.
He's the only guy that would respond to your Twitter message and be like, well, absolutely. Absolutely, I will do this deal with you.
Blaine Gabbert.
Let's transition to running backs. Kareem Hunt is putting the fear to rest. Kareem Hunt has strung together multiple weeks of great production. He's becoming a receiving option again. If you bought low on Kareem Hunt, if somebody was crazy enough to do it, kudos to you, because I tried. I have been trying in our main league, and the dude that owns Kareem Hunt, our main league, it doesn't matter if his record is 0-12. He will not trade anything. He will not trade a single piece. But Kareem Hunt owners, rejoice. He's back. He finishes as the top fantasy running back this week. And then you got Marlon Mack.
Kareem Hunt's over the last 3 weeks, number 2 fantasy running back, by the way.
Yeah, he's picking up where he left off mid-season last year and shown that he's one of the better running backs in the league. But let's talk a little Marlon Mack. I'm curious to see if you guys think he's a buy. Like, should we be buying Marlon Mack, selling Marlon Mack, or is this just a fluky 2 weeks?
I mean, last 2 weeks he's looked really good.
Really, really good.
Really good.
Okay.
He's young.
He played the Jets.
Okay. Jets have a good defense. Bills have a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, okay. The Bills aren't bad. The Jets aren't terrible.
Don't make me pull up the run stats.
Yeah, but the Bills?
Good defense.
But they were ahead the entire game by 2-3 touchdowns. Like, the Colts are like, shoot, we're going to have to milk this one out now. Like, we got to get this clock working in our favor before they have a chance to catch up. Like, come on. I'm not buying Marlon Mack. I wanted him to succeed, but now I want to see Nyheim Hines get the ball. Like, I don't have any faith in who they're going to give the rock to in Indianapolis. Right now, I think it's Mack going forward, but at any point in time, I can see Hines end up with 15 carries and, him get around 100 yards on the game. So that's I'm not comfortable.
I'm not getting the carries too much.
I'm not comfortable Mack's going to be a bell cow down there.
I don't know. They've increased his carries. I haven't seen, you don't see 19 carries to a indie back very often. I think I'm buying Marlon Mack, and that's not just because I'm an owner and not just because of the Marlon Mack royalties that I get when I say Marlon Mack. But I'm feeling Marlon Mack because Nyheim Hines, I don't think his purpose was never to be the bell cow. He's not Maurice Jones-Drew. I mean, he's short. He's a smaller back, but he's not thick like Maurice Jones-Drew. And Marlon Mack is a guy that's built to carry the load. He's 6 foot 210. As long as he doesn't get hurt, I mean, this guy can do it. I think I'm buying into Marlon Mack. And again, the Jets and Bills are both top half of the league rushing defenses. They're not bottom of the barrel. So Marlon Mack against decent competition, putting up really solid numbers. Lambert, do you have an opinion on Marlon?
I don't.
Well, that's okay. I don't.
I mean, I guess my point is, what are you giving up for Marlon Mack? I guess that's where my thought on it. Whoever's got Marlon Mack thinks he's hot, and we got to keep him. Like, if I've got Marlon Mack, I'm trying to sell him. I'm trying to, hey, what do you give me for Marlon Mack right now? Come on, like even Nick Chubb. I mean, that's kind of my approach. What can I skin out of somebody right now? To get this guy who really hasn't put a lot together for production, based on hype. And I think Max had a couple weeks, but still, I mean, dude, I want to see consistency before I'm going to be comfortable rolling someone out of my starting lineup every week.
Right. But by the time he puts up that consistency, the price just goes up.
You're right.
So that's why I asked, is it a buy low scenario? Granted, you're not getting him as low as you would have last week or the week before, but you probably can still get him if you play your cards right, and get him now before he either blows up or at least becomes the consistent ball carrier for the Colts. I kind of like him in a running back landscape that's full of guys like James White and Tariq Cohen, putting up top numbers because there's
But what
no
are
bell
you giving
cows.
up for him? That's my point. If you can tell me what's a fair trade for Marlon Mack right now.
A fair trade for Marlon Mack right now? I mean, you could at least give the Tampa Bay backs if you got him. You could give the Barber
If I had
Jones
Marlon Mack, I wouldn't accept him.
No, I wasn't done though. Like a decent receiver, a decent tight end, a package
Give me a name,
deal.
man. Give me a name.
Why do I gotta give you a name?
Kenyon Drake, a possibility.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake and George Kittle for Marlon Mack and Jordan Reed. There you go. There's your names.
Man, I don't know. I think I'm going to keep Kittle and Drake.
Kittle
and Drake.
Kittle's the one that swings that one. But
Kittles and Drakes and Kittles and Drakes and Kittles and Drakes.
What about Yeldon?
Oh, man.
If I have Yeldon and someone's giving me Marlon Mack for Yeldon, absolutely.
Yeah, because now Carlos.
But if I have Marlon Mack
there.
and someone is offering me Yeldon, no. Why would I do that? Because I have the starter. You don't.
What about a deal for David Johnson?
No.
A big deal.
You're just reaching.
A big deal.
I mean, what else do I have to add with Marlon Mack to get David Johnson?
Antonio Brown.
More names. Here we go. Too much hypotheticals. I'm giving
I'm just
Blake
saying-
Bortles for Marlon Mack.
All right.
Blake.
Only as my bye week quarterback.
Todd
Do that.
Gurley.
I have Blake Bortles. You
I'm
can
not
have
giving.
him.
I'm
Oh,
not giving
okay.
Todd
I'll
Gurley
take
for Marlon Mack.
All right. Well, Todd Gurley finished number 3. You know what's new in the world? He puts up another 30 points.
The fact that he was number 3.
Yeah,
not number
that's the
one.
only thing new. He was a couple points off that type
Pathetic,
spot.
Todd. It's pathetic.
Step your game
Step
up.
your game up, bro. James White. Like, you know what is more annoying than not owning a top 10 back is watching somebody roll James White out every week and knowing that they're going to get production. It is so annoying. How many times in every league could you have acquired James White and you passed on it? Like, how many times have you passed on James White? I can tell you myself, at least 5. At least 5 times I've been offered James White in a deal, a package deal for a bell cow running back like a Lamar Miller. And I'd be like, I don't want James White. No.
Dude, no, I don't want a New England running back. Well, no sooner than I want a New England running back, Sonny Michel gets hurt. They start giving the ball to James White, which he has a season-high 11 carries this week.
That's all he needs. That's all he needs.
It is, because he's been getting it done in the air time and time again. I mean, this week he had 8 catches for 57 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Dude, I know there was a bye involved, but James White is currently ahead of James Conner, Ezekiel Elliott, and Christian McCaffrey, and David Johnson as fantasy, in the fantasy rankings. What the heck? Like, what the heck? PPR, of course, non-PPR, it's a little different story. But really, like, James Conner over Zeke, James Conner over CMC,
And
over
until-
David Johnson.
Until someone sees what's going to happen with Sonny Michel, he's probably going to stay in that area.
Kenyon Barner got 10 carries yesterday. Like, this is what the Patriots do, but for some reason, James White is like, doesn't matter how many carries you give me, I'm going to finish top 10. Like, you want to threaten me with benching me? I'll still finish top 10.
It's so frustrating watching the Patriots. When you're playing against their backs, it's just so frustrating. Because you're like, all right, I've got Sonny Michel. This guy's got James White. Oh, there goes Sonny Michel going out. Oh, and James White gets in the end zone. Well, that's not too bad. 1 touchdown on the day. I can make that up elsewhere. I have Saquon Barkley playing on Monday night. Oh, great. And he gets in the end zone again. Well, I'm going to have to basically have a historically great week to pull this one out. Thanks,
James White.
James White.
Tariq Cohen finishes number 5. He's another one of those, like, pain in your side kind of things, because with Cohen, it's a little more inconsistent. You don't know if he's going to finish top 10 week to week, but here lately he's been the guy to own in Chicago as far as running backs go. And Latavius Murray, my God. Like, is he possibly putting a threat out to Dalvin Cook? Like, hey, this is my job, just stay away from it?
I questioned it last week. He's starting to look that way.
He looks good. They win when Latavius Murray carries the ball 15 plus times. It seems like Minnesota wins.
Yeah, I mean, gets to the end zone twice yesterday. I mean, Murray's, as a Raiders fan,
He's always been underrated.
yeah, as a Raiders fan, I hated to see us let him go. I'm like, what are you doing? And then he goes to Minnesota. They immediately draft Dalvin Cook. And you're like, wow, Latavius Murray just got buried.
Yep.
Why spend the price it takes to get a Dalvin Cook and have Latavius Murray on your team? And then, of course, Dalvin goes down. Here comes Latavius, and, man, he looks as good as he ever has. He's never been a great running back. He's always been real solid, but he looks as good as he ever has.
Especially the past 2 weeks, he's been putting up some pretty good numbers.
And look good doing it. Like, stiff-arming running backs on the way to the end zone. Like, Latavius Murray just looks good. Deion Lewis, TJ Yeldon, 7 and 8. Next guy I actually want to talk about, though, Kerryon Johnson. Good Lord. Like, they finally give him the lion's share, no pun intended, of the carries.
I see what you did there.
Nah, see
what you did there.
Yeah, every time I say lions, I get a little kickback. 19 carries, 158 yards. Like, Kerryon Johnson was ripping off chunk gains at will.
Well, he had over 100 yards. I think he had like 4 carries.
Yeah, 4 or
Something
5
like-
carries.
I mean,
He
yeah.
had a 71-yard,
Yeah.
not a touchdown, though.
Right.
Like,
How do you run that far and not get in
Well, I can tell. It's because I would have a heart attack. But I think Carrion's in pretty good shape, so I don't think that was a risk. But
he's not running a 20-minute 100 though.
No. But Carrion's giving you double digits every game but week 1. He's giving you double-digit fantasy points in PPR. And time to start taking him seriously. Maybe he's a trade target.
It probably didn't help or hurt rather that Riddick was out this week.
No, so, it definitely helped him out. I mean, he definitely got a little more work in the passing game.
But the difference maker for Riddick is Riddick's going to catch 4 or 5 balls. I mean, Carrion got the same 2 or 3 that he was going to get anyway.
True.
The only concern is, man, they still got Blunt up there vulturing freaking touchdowns.
Yep.
He's Buck Allen in him. I mean,
Buck Allen.
He got bucked.
It just, Garrett Blunt, the most annoying person in fantasy football.
I thought James White was.
Yeah, James White is to me.
LeGarrette Blunt, because I have Carrion Johnson.
Oh, okay. So the most annoying person in fantasy football to you.
It depends on your roster.
Well, yeah,
Right.
of course. Of course. It depends on your roster. But
It's like Frank Gore with me, where I own Kenyon Drake shares all throughout fantasy land, and another old guy, Frank Gore, just keeps, hurting his fantasy value.
poor Frank.
Speaking of Drake, he finished as a top 10 guy. Took him all of 6 or 7 carries to get 70-some yards. Like, what did I say on the last episode? Like, hey, Kenyon Drake, if you give it to him enough, he's going to break one. And Adam Gase looks at me like, nah, you're wrong. Adam,
We'll give him 6.
Adam, if you give him enough, he really will rip one off for you, whether it's through the air or on the ground. Like, just trust me, Adam. No, you're not. You're not a coach. Okay.
And you're not. Just so we're clear.
Yeah,
But
I know.
But you also, apparently, Kenyon Drake doesn't need, and this is what he did several times last year, didn't need a ton of carries to have 60 or 70 yards.
But man, imagine if they gave him
I know.
15 to 20. Like,
I mean,
you might win some games.
I refuse to believe he's getting, stone cold in the backfield on his next 10 carries consecutively to still end up with 70 yards on the game,
Right. Disappointments running back wise. Like, I hate to call him a disappointment, but Alvin Kamara is still, like, finishing 15 overall in PPR. You're okay. He didn't hurt you, but you're a little disappointed.
You need Alvin Kamara. If you have Alvin Kamara, you literally need him to win your week for you because you had to pay that high of a price for him. So, Kamara, you're a week winner, dude. Start winning weeks again. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, that's how expensive you were in fantasy drafts. You've got to perform big, otherwise the owner's screwed.
Yeah.
And I'm an owner,
disappointed.
so trust me.
Well, David Johnson disappointed this week too.
Yeah,
Austin
just like
Eckler,
most weeks.
I mean, with Gordon going out, you
Opportunity.
thought, this is it. This is the huge game.
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
he put up double-digit points, but
Yeah, I mean, if
It
you
wasn't-
started him, you're okay. You're a lot better.
you were hoping for MG3 numbers.
You were at least hoping for all the passing down work to give you at least a 20-point week. And just didn't happen. So other guys that you got, man, who is Trenton Cannon? Trenton Cannon of the New York Jets sneaks into the top 20, a 24-year-old rookie out of Virginia State. Almost a 7th rounder, catches 4 balls for 69 yards and puts himself as a DFS gem for this week. But
He has 18 points on the year, and he got 14 of them yesterday.
yes,
I'm going to go out on a limb and say nobody started him.
probably not. But Nick Chubb hurt you a little bit. Not terribly. I mean, you're
I wouldn't
still
say
getting-
hurt. He got you
not
14
hurt,
points.
But man, people were expecting the second coming of Jesus with Nick Chubb out there on the field. Like
There was a lot of excitement.
There was a lot of excitement against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, you're like, man, he's going to shred them. He's going to go off. And no, he gives you a solid day, just like Christian McCaffrey. Couple guys you expect a ton out of every week, and they gave you solid but not spectacular days. Jordan Howard, it's time to sell, in my opinion. If you're a Jordan Howard owner,
That offense does not run through Jordan Howard.
It's a Mitch Trubisky-led offense now with Tariq Cohen being the main beneficiary. Time to sell if you got him, in my opinion. But Adrian Peterson, David Johnson, not that big of games. Royce Freeman, Joe Mixon.
I mean, Peterson had 99 yards.
Yeah.
And still finished 25th.
No touchdowns and only one pass caught. I mean, what can you do? I tell you what we can do. We're going to give you a quick word from our sponsor, MyBookie. You know, ever since I started this podcast, people have been asking me for advice.
Usually it's what team to bet on this week. The truth is, I don't know who's going to win, but if you think you know, you got to check out MyBookie. Remember, who you're betting on is just as important as who you're betting with. That's why I always tell people to bet with MyBookie. Trust me, guys, they are your best bet this season. They've been in business for years, have great reviews online, and their mobile site is easy to use. You can lay down some cash and win big today. They have in-game live betting, the most rewarding player perks in the business, and for you fantasy guys out there, you can even bet the over or under on how many fantasy points a player will score each game. So join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar. Use the promo code ROW, capital R-O-W, to activate the offer. Again, visit MyBookie online today. That's MyBookie, and don't forget to use promo code ROW when creating your account to claim the bonus. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, so that's MyBookie.com. Go there, put in the code ROW25, get yourself some extra cash to go gambling with. Put on your Kentucky Derby hat and go drop some dime. Let's get to some wide receivers. Wide receiver wise, Adam Thielen just won't go away as the top receiver this season. And I don't think we can say it's a total shock, but
I mean, he finished 3 this week. But
well, I mean, as
literally
overall,
being right in that area.
Number one overall right now.
Oh, I honestly, I've got Michael Thomas, and I'm sitting there trying to think, should I try to trade for Adam Thielen?
I don't think I would.
See, but it's such a difficult question right now. I've also got Odell Beckham in a non-keeper league, and I'm thinking, man, if I could just come away with Adam Thielen in a trade. I actually offered it. It was rejected, and I blew my mind. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Name recognition.
Yep.
Whoever rejected that was like, I don't buy names, I buy production.
The guy drafted Aaron Rodgers in the first round. I kind of thought it was.
Oh dear.
I thought there was a 100% chance I got that trade to go through, and no, he shot it down. Hurt my heart a little. Hurt my heart.
Emmanuel Sanders was number one for this week, and he's a apparently Denver is thinking about going full rebuild.
Oh, I've heard they're shopping DT.
Yeah, shopping Demaryius Thomas. I guess teams are interested. Emmanuel Sanders doesn't look like they want to move him. I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, you got Sutton, you got Deshaun Hamilton, you're rebuilding. Emmanuel Sanders isn't young anymore. Strike while the iron's hot. I know he's good, but strike while the iron's hot.
Well,
on
you've got to look
Sanders.
to next year. I mean, how much longer do you have on Sanders?
And I think
I don't think they signed him to an extension or anything.
I don't know. I know that I feel like Sutton, once given a full-time opportunity, is going to be a monster. Sanders, it's going to be difficult to replace his production, but I think Sutton could easily walk in and do what Demaryius Thomas does. Not quite what Emmanuel Sanders does. So do I trust Deshaun Hamilton at that point? No,
but rebuild. You've accepted the fact that you're not going to win this season, or else you wouldn't entertain a rebuild.
Yeah, but
Right.
But at what positions is that the fault of? Is that your quarterback? Because it's certainly not your running backs. Is it your line? Is it your defense? Where are the problems? Address.
Demaryius is one. Him and Case Keenum don't click. Case Keenum's one.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not sure he clicks with anyone.
Emmanuel Sanders.
it's about it, man. Sanders.
And they don't have a tight end. I mean, there's guys they can key in on and hone in on the Denver offense and kind of slow them down a little bit. But I find it kind of weird that they want to rebuild after a 40-some point victory. Like, they didn't win by 40, but they put up 40-some points over the Cardinals and basically destroyed them. But they must know that it's the Cardinals and we're still rebuilding.
They're 3-4, but the problem is that out in the West, I mean, there's a commanding lead by the Chiefs. They're not coming back from that.
They know they're playing for next year.
Yeah.
So you got that possibility of a sale in Denver. Emmanuel Sanders is a guy that would fit well with a Dak Prescott in Dallas, actually, but probably better than Amari Cooper if I had to say so. But John Brown still doing John Brown things, as we like to say. Number 2 receiver for the week. Then you got Thielen, Jarvis Landry, a little jump back up into fantasy relevance, and Alshon Jeffrey.
Alshon's been playing hot.
Alshon's hot.
So out of the people we named, I'm not buying any of John Brown. Just a couple weeks in a row before this, I think he had 4 or less points. He's going to have high points. It was obviously Thielen doing his thing. Jarvis Landry, nice Jarvis Landry sighting. No sooner did we get talking crap about how they've got to get him involved.
Right.
He's the best player on their team. He comes back with 10 receptions for 97 yards.
He's not short on targets.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the targets last week, but he still only gave you 3 points, 3.1 points.
Yeah.
But what Alshon's doing, just touchdown. It seems like every week your down weeks are 1 touchdown.
Yep.
Right.
Or you're going to get 2.
I mean, he's catching
doing
most
great.
of his targets.
Yeah.
I mean, he is being very efficient right now in that Philadelphia offense that greatly needs him. But Tyrell Williams again, when do we stop saying Tyrell Williams this season? Because it's only happened 2 weeks, but is he going to continue on this torrid pace of being that guy that catches 150-yard touchdown a game?
I don't know, because back-to-back weeks he had 118 yards and at least 1 touchdown. I mean, if you look back on a season previous to that.
How do you do that? 118 2 in a row?
I don't know. I was wondering that.
Strange.
But on a season, his worst games, 5.6 points, and all the rest of them are 7.8. That was twice, 9, 6, 10. I mean, it's not bad wide receiver numbers for someone who's got the upside to be the best receiver
considering
in
he's
the
a
week.
number 3.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And here's
you're going to get Tyrell Williams for nothing. I mean,
now?
Probably not. I don't know. You can still get it. Should be able to get him for a late draft pick.
You should.
I wouldn't give a second rounder for him.
No.
But you'd be able to get a third.
Yeah, and the problem is,
but would you trade him for a third if you have
If
him?
I have him, I don't think I'm even thinking about starting him.
the only reason I would not trade him for a third is because I am pretty sure he's a free agent after this season.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, you could see him go somewhere and be the number 2 option for a
Yeah.
team as opposed to a 3. So, am I buying him for a third? Yes. Am I buying him for a third for this year? Probably not, because the target share, he's not got more than 5 targets a game this season. And the last 2 weeks has been 4 targets a game. He's been lucky to catch 3 and 4 of those per game. So, I mean, it's not like he's getting peppered by Phillip Rivers. He's getting the deep shots.
Correct.
I mean, he's playing the Deshaun Jackson role.
Yeah.
And he's just capitalizing on it. So, can you safely play him week in and week out as a wide receiver 3? Yeah, probably, because he's going to get you close to 10 points a game because he does catch most of his targets. So, even if he is only getting 3 or 4.
But the guy's been on the team for 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, he's been around for a bit.
Yeah, this is his 4th year out of Western Oregon. And sometimes he'll get you 700 or 800 yards, or he'll end up with 500 on the season. I guess more often than not, he's over 700. So 728 and then 1,059.
He's not a bad bye week play, not a bad occasional flex play. So, I mean, there's value there.
I just feel like they keep trying to push him out, I mean, Keenan Allen, obviously, they came in around the same time, so that's, they're teammates. But to add Mike Williams, it's like they're trying to push out Tyrell Williams for something younger and, in theory, better.
Yeah, well, and I think they drafted Mike Williams before Keenan Allen came back and showed that he was Keenan Allen. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it may have more to do with Keenan Allen, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, Keenan Allen's fine now, so now we've got this wealth of, Williams receivers that we got here. But Tyrell was a restricted free agent last year, I believe, and I thought he might have left, and he didn't leave. So this year, I'm pretty sure is it for him. He becomes unrestricted. But Tyreek Hill, number 7, he's, back to Tyreek Hill. Danny Amendola. Kind of makes me puke a little bit that Danny Amendola was a top 10 receiver this week.
Yeah,
because he's
think-
really done nothing this year.
But part of that was Albert Wilson leaving the game.
Yeah.
I believe he was he hurt?
Yeah,
I didn't catch it.
he twisted something.
Yeah, I saw that he was
not.
not expected to return. So
No, but Danny Amendola, if you played him, good heads up on that. I wouldn't have played him. Michael Thomas, number 9. A.J. Green and T.Y. Hilton round out the top ones. I'm surprised T.Y. Hilton even played, but he played and he did okay. In this
I mean, he had 2 touchdowns on 4 receptions and 25 yards.
little Tyrell Williams like
what
numbers.
the heck, man? And that's it for only 4 targets. I mean, Ty did the absolute most you could possibly do with such a limited role.
He did. And then you know who was after T.Y. in fantasy points? Devin Funchess. That
I don't know why
itch that won't go
Back
away.
to back over 18 points.
Heck yeah.
I don't know why people hate on Devin Funchess. The guy's usually over 10 points.
It's just it.
I don't care if you. He should be a tight end. It doesn't matter to me. He would be a dominant tight end. He'd be a great tight end. I'd love to have him as my tight end. Give me those numbers all week for my tight end spot.
You're just never getting that big game. You're getting the
But you're not-
50
you're-
to
You want
75
solid-
yards.
You want consistent play.
Yeah.
Like, if you give me Devin Funchess as my number 3 receiver, I'm ecstatic. Like, you tell me I'm getting basically 10 points a week, 10 to 15 every week. Done. Perfect.
Well, listen, for
Chalk it
someone
up. I'll take it.
for someone that doesn't want John Brown, they put up very similar numbers as far as like their weekly ins and outs go.
Not the weekly ins and outs, the total points on the season. The John Brown is 25 points, 4 points. Devin Funchess is 10. I've already.
He
looked
had
it up.
one 4-point game and he had a 9-point game. Funchess has a 7 and a 9. I don't see much difference there.
Well, I apologize. I thought that Brown had 2 around 5.
Boom.
I would still rather have Funchess.
Me too.
Absolutely,
I'd
I'd still rather have Funchess.
I'd rather have Funchess too. John Brown still worries me, but
And heck, John Brown gets more targets than Devin Funchess, but it is what it is.
is what it is. There's no one else to throw to in Carolina currently, so Funchess is
Right.
kind of the guy.
Well, the biggest concern with Carolina is Cam's not known. Cam doesn't produce number 1 receivers. He just doesn't. Like nothing's a fantasy top 16. So
Kelvin Benjamin for a minute some way.
He made Benjamin look good, and
I don't know how that happened because
we'll
Kelvin
see what
Benjamin.
he's doing.
Phew, God, I feel like they could send Odell Beckham to Buffalo and he would put up 4 receptions a game for 35 yards.
Did you see last week, Kelvin Benjamin?
Yes.
It's like, hey, you want to go warm up? Nah.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, I got a bag of Cheetos and I'm pretty
Right.
content to sit here and
Just
eat
going to
them.
collect my money.
That's definitely what he's doing. Real quick on the wide receivers, Michael Gallup. We finally got some Michael Gallup action in Dallas. He led the team in yards and actually had a score. Is this
no.
No. Just shut it down.
I wish it was. I love Michael Gallup.
Man.
Like the dude put up video game numbers in college.
Yep.
And I don't think it's the result of him playing in Division 2 or whatever it was. Where the heck did he even play?
He was out of Colorado.
Colorado.
Colorado State. Yeah, I mean he played against inferior competition.
Yeah.
It was mid-major, excuse me, not a Division 2. But you know what? There's either a disconnect with him and Dak,
Or it's just Dak.
or Dak's not delivering the ball. I mean, because I've seen times Gallup be open, but I've also seen times to where it's like he's just covered up. So I'm not buying any Michael Gallup. I've released literally every share of Michael Gallup I have.
Yeah, I've been trying to sell, but with no luck. Maybe I can sell now. But Gallup, you had Edelman. Edelman was the top 20. Dante Moncrief somehow snuck in there, as did Larry Fitz. And Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon had a pretty good game for New England yesterday. Nothing crazy, but good enough.
3 weeks in a row, Gordon's low points, 9 points. Is he finally hitting his stride?
I think he's going to be one of those guys that gets a little bit better each game. And I think that's what we're seeing. Tom Brady developing a little more trust with Josh Gordon as the weeks go by. So
I mean, getting more targets. I mean, it went 4.97, but touchdown, then 5 catches, 4 catches for 100 this week. Are you buying Josh Gordon right now?
man, I don't know. It depends on the price. He's got that name. He's got that big name that requires a little more than what he's actually worth,
Yep.
in my opinion. So I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Unless somebody's going to give him to me at a fair value. I mean, if it's not going to be a name value, then yes.
Josh Gordon or Terrell Williams?
Josh Gordon.
Okay. If I had Josh
Definitely.
Gordon, what else would I have to give you to get Tyrell Williams?
I mean, I would give you Tyrell Williams straight up for Josh Gordon.
I said if I had Josh Gordon. You said you'll take Terrell Williams in that trade.
Yeah, and then you
If
asked me
I
what else do I need to give to get Tyrell Williams? Nothing. I'll take him straight up. That's what you said.
You just said Tyrell Williams. I said if I had Tyrell Williams, okay, and you have Josh Gordon.
Okay.
No, I'm doing this backwards. My bad. I have Josh Gordon and you have Tyrell Williams.
Right.
What else do I need to add with Josh Gordon to get Tyrell Williams?
That's exactly what I said. Nothing. You're asking me what do you need to add to Josh Gordon to get Tyrell? Nothing. I'll do it straight up.
I said Josh Gordon or Terrell Williams. You said Williams. Like, you want Williams in that trade. I'm trying to get Williams off of you.
No, I said Josh Gordon.
Okay. That is not what you said.
I swear it is.
Okay. Well, my bad. What about the other way around? So if I've got Williams and I'm trying to get Gordon off of you, what else do I have to add?
Okay, you got Williams and you're trying to get Gordon off of me. I probably want a tight end upgrade. If that's the case. So we don't have the whole team landscape.
No, I'm just like, I figured like a pick.
You know how I am with
freaking tight end
picks.
do you want to do? See, to me, that's. I feel like they're very equal value.
Tyrell and Josh?
And I would take Gordon, but I'm just saying, like, I figured a third with Tyrell Williams to get Josh Gordon.
No, it'd probably be more like a second if I was interested in draft picks.
Okay.
Just, yeah. I'm interested to listen back over that.
I could be wrong, but man,
so could I.
I
It's
could
early in the
have
morning.
swore that you said that you want Tyrell Williams because I was surprised. I'm like, what? Okay. But whatever.
If I did, it's way early in the
all
morning.
right.
We'll find out, though. But
It's
DeAndre
okay.
Hopkins kind of let you down this week. Sammy Watkins.
Hey, DeAndre Hopkins was someone Chad called as a sit.
He did.
By the way, also called Breida as a sit. And
I called Keenan
good
Allen
Lord,
as a
he
sit.
ended up with negative points, I think.
And Keenan Allen let you down. I called him as a sit. Actually, you got me wanting to go back. I called Njoku as a must play. He did get in the end zone. I called Flacco, not so obvious start of the week. He finished top 10. Denzel Perryman I called as a not so obvious, and Denzel Perryman had a great game. I think I missed on Ndamukong Suh. But I did say to sit Ebron. That worked out. I said to sit Keenan Allen. That worked out. I said to sit Kiko Alonso. That worked out. I'm fantasy god.
Let's not get carried away.
That's all I got to say. Let's move on to some tight ends and then touch on some IDP. Tight ends for the week. Your boy, Trey Burton, led the pack, along with his former teammate, Zach Ertz.
Stud tight ends that they had in Philadelphia last year. And I think they have just as good this year.
Dallas Goedert was top 10. You got 3 either Eagles or former Eagles in the top 10 of tight ends this week. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Dallas gets in top 10. Dallas Goedert, gets in top 10 on that touchdown. My big thing, my high point, what I'm loving seeing is George Kittle continuously remaining in that top 3 or 4 spot.
Dude, George Kittle and C.J. Beathard have that connection. And don't get me wrong, Garoppolo and Kittle had a connection too. Like, Kittle's just a good tight end. But, man, it makes
George
it so
Kittle
much...
is 30 points on the season ahead of Gronk.
Yeah. And it's going to stay that way.
Gronk. So it's Ertz by 17 over Kelsey. Kelsey's just 9 above Eric Ebron. Ebron and Kittle are 4 points apart.
And I have Ebron and Kittle in my league. It makes me happy.
Hey, I had Kelsey and Kittle, and I made the bold move to move.
Can't play them both.
Yeah, I traded Kittle to you, and in another league, I got Kittle in like the 14th round, and I made the move to trade Kelsey whenever one of my receivers just wasn't panning out. I made the move to get. I believe I traded Kelsey and Edelman, which is a huge package, to get Odell Beckham Jr., which was a huge mistake because Odell Beckham Jr. is trash this year.
Ooh. I don't know if I call it
He's
trash.
killing me, man.
He's definitely not elite so far this year, but he's not trash. He's on a good pace yards-wise. He needs the touchdowns.
Yeah.
The touchdowns have to come, but yeah, you got Trey Burton, Zach Ertz, George Kittle, Michael Roberts.
Stealing my
freaking
Golden
Roberts
Tate touchdowns.
comes out of nowhere. And this is a guy that I had my eyes on, in rookie drafts, like as a very, very late round flyer, because he was a 4th round pick for the Lions. So, I mean, draft capital's there. Hasn't really done much, but whenever he has been healthy, he's been their tight end, which means very little in Detroit. But if you did play him as a DFS dart throw, you got lucky on that one. But Ben Watson, David Njoku, Kelsey Goddard, Chris Herndon, a guy we've talked about a little bit for the Jets. He's one of those buy low or grab off the waiver wires if you can, if you need some tight end help, because he is their starter. He's the de facto. And they did release Terrell Pryor. That's going to open up some end zone looks for Chris Herndon.
Correct.
They've got guys that are hurting and ailing in New York. So, again, that's going to open up opportunity for Chris Herndon. This is my pickup of the week at tight end because his target share is going to go up. He had 7 targets this week. I expect that to become more the norm for Chris Herndon. 5 to 7 targets a week, and in the tight end landscape, which has become our new favorite phrase, that's probably good for top 10.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're looking at and top 10 production, it was basically breaking 10 points.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Literally, the cutoff, it was 11.7 points for number 10 and 9.3 at number 11. So,
absolutely right. Guys that kind of hurt you. Greg Olson just hasn't done much since he came back. Ebron didn't do much this week. Jordan Reed Jordan Reed don't look like Jordan Reed, not with Alex Smith. Jordan Reed looks like a very average tight end,
which is shocking to me because the connection that Alex Smith had with Travis Kelce.
Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But your bust of the week, good God, Kyle Rudolph gave you nothing. Gave you nothing. And that again, that's part of the landscape at tight end. If you don't have an elite one, you don't have one.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well stream and just, that's like rolling dice.
Yep.
You know, just throwing it out there is like, oh, is it 7? No. Oh. All right. You want to skip on over to defense?
I'm really excited to skip on over to some defense for some quick top, because this is what we love, and this is what I love to talk about the most. Defensive ends, you had the big names, Aaron Donald, Melvin Ingram, Myles Garrett, Calais Campbell in your top 10. And then you got that sprinkling of streamers in Emmanuel Ogbah.
Aaron Donald doubled up second place.
Aaron Donald was
But he had 4 freaking sacks. I mean, that's more of a testament to how bad, how long C.J. Beathard's hanging on to the ball.
That's
than
very
anything.
true.
I mean, that... Is Aaron Donald a great player? Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But he's not going to do this.
He's up to 8 sacks through 7 games.
Yes, but he had, through 6 games, he only had 4.
Right.
Which, only 4. I mean, that's
pretty good.
Around a sack, almost sack game. He's doing solid, but tag going. I mean, start all your defensive or all your pass rushers against the Niners from here on out.
Absolutely. What about Ricky Jean-Francois? It's not a big name, but is it somebody you could pick up? I mean, he had 2 sacks. He's really done nothing before this week.
Once again, with the way I want with any of my defensive linemen, I need some consistency with upside. I don't want just someone who has a fluky week. I'm not about that. Now, if it was a rookie, this was his first start, and it looked like he was taking over the job, absolutely. But
right.
No, not someone who's been in the league for a few years and gives me a first double-digit point in probably 3 years.
Yeah. Definitely. Carl Nassib, he had a big stop against his former team in the Browns. Had a good game, double-digit points out of him. Is there any D linemen that stick out to you before we go on to linebackers?
Not really. I mean, it was nice to see DeMarcus Lawrence in the top 15. I mean, he's been up, down, very down last few weeks, and ends up with an 8-point week this week. And that's really about it. I mean, a lot of the big names have kind of let you down.
Cameron Jordan not really putting
Cam
up the
Jordan
points.
Expecting everything he did last year to happen again, and maybe even more, and he just turns in nothing this week. So, and nothing so far on the year. I mean, I don't even, is he hurt or something? I mean, what's going on with Cam Jordan?
No, I just don't think the pass rush for New Orleans is there. Their defense was kind of fluky and had a great year last year, and this year it's just not happening. Something's not lining up to where these guys can get
and they
to the
drafted another pass rusher, I believe, in Marcus Davenport, didn't they?
Yep.
I mean, you would have expected it to get better, not worse.
You would think.
Anyhow.
Linebackers. Corey Littleton is definitely for real. There is no doubt about it in my mind. Corey Littleton is a playmaker. He may not be the biggest tackle guy week in, week out, but he's a playmaker. He's going to do something for your team that puts fantasy points on the board, and he had a great game yesterday. 10 tackles, 2 sacks.
Dude, Littleton's been consistently solid. I mean, consistently in the top 5. I mean, when you're talking about a middle linebacker, what more could you possibly want? The guy's, taking over the Alec Ogletree role, and frankly doing it better than Alec Ogletree did.
Yeah.
From a fantasy production standpoint. But, I mean, the Rams defense looks as good, if not better, than it was last year anyway.
Absolutely. And other big names that finished in the top, man, Todd Davis was number 2, but Darius Leonard, my God, this guy put up, I believe, 18 total tackles. 17, sorry.
Wow.
17 total tackles.
I mean, second time he's done it. Wow, no, not the second time. Second time he's done double-digit tackles this year. I mean, the dude's put up over 20 points 3 times.
It's insane.
At linebacker.
Listen, he's played 6 games this season. He's 1 tackle away from 80 combined.
Oh, my God.
That is absolutely nuts.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely nuts. Like, I feel like we should technically get sick of talking about this guy.
I absolutely am not sick.
He's a league winner.
I'm never going to get sick of seeing Darius Leonard's name at the top of the linebacker list.
He's a league winner, man. If you got him, you lucked out. So he was your number 3. Luke Kuechly had a fantastic game. It was Luke Kuechly of old, putting up tackles, swarming to the ball, got a sack. Good stuff out of Luke Kuechly this week. So if you still have him and didn't lose the faith, kudos to you. And C.J. Mosley's back.
Mm-hmm.
C.J. Mosley is back. It looks like he's more comfortable. He had a great game yesterday. Was the tackle machine that they needed. So C.J. Mosley, if you waited on him as well, we kind of had an alert on him last week, like something's not right. He's not feeling right from injury. Something's going on. Apparently, he got healthy. He's feeling good. He's a top 5 linebacker again.
Same with Christian Kirksey.
Yeah, that was one of Nitt's calls to stay away from this week. But Kirksey heard what Nitt said, and he came out and proved him wrong. Kirksey looked really good yesterday, putting up the tackle numbers that Christian Kirksey normally does.
Let's hope he brings back the consistency that he had in years past. Because, I mean, last 2 previous years he was top 10 linebacker, and he banged up a little bit this year, and I want to see him be more consistent.
Yeah, I think we'll see a little bit of that from Christian Kirksey. He's definitely got the talent. But I want to talk, before I go all the way through the rest, there's a couple sack specialist linebackers that have had 2 great weeks in a row that you definitely should have your eyes on. Jadeveon Clowney and Bradley Chubb are both putting up good numbers at the linebacker position, even though technically they should be designated as defensive ends or played as defensive ends.
They need to change that position to edge.
Yeah,
they do
something.
We need to contact like my fantasy league about that.
Yeah,
because you've got these great names that you can't play at linebacker, because I can't play Jadeveon Clowney with any faith. I mean, last week
the tackles aren't normally there.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say last week that he had like 4.5 points, or no, 1.5 point last week, and then this week 17.5. I mean, when he gets home, man, he gets home in a big way. And, he's menacing to the quarterback. But if he doesn't get a sack, he's nothing. He's doing terrible for you.
Absolutely.
And Bradley Chubb, back-to-back weeks.
5 sacks over 2 games.
5 sacks. Worth the top 5 pick if that's what you were looking for at pass rush out in Denver. Pairing him with Von Miller. Oh, my God. That's terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's 2 of the best pass rushing linebackers in the game, and you got them on the same team. It's
Correct.
Absolutely insane.
I mean, why don't they just call the Bears, see if they can get Khalil Mack while they're at it?
Yeah. I should have added Von Miller to the combo because he was a top 10 linebacker this week. So you got 3 big-time sack linebackers putting up top 20 numbers. Von Miller was in there as well, and Ryan Kerrigan, oddly enough. But as far as your tackle guys that also got it done, Zach Cunningham is getting consistent week in, week out. Danny Trevathan, a little bit of a revival for him. Had a great game yesterday. Denzel Perryman, like we mentioned, also got it done for you with Levante David. And I'm calling out a little alert here. It's time to grab Raekwon McMillan. He has gotten better over the past 3 games. He started to put it together. And that's why I called Kiko Alonso as a down guy for this week, is because I'm slowly seeing Raekwon McMillan get comfortable with his leg, get comfortable with the scheme and the playbook, and it's starting to all come together for him. He had 8 total tackles and a forced fumble yesterday. Raekwon looked good.
In the last 5 weeks, 2 tackles, 3 tackles, 4 tackles, 5 tackles, 7 tackles consecutively.
Slowly but surely.
He's picking up steam.
He's picking up steam, and he's looking pretty good. Just like Jayon Brown, Tennessee linebacker. He's somebody you could add if you're needing a little bit of help. He's rostered in a lot. I'd say he's rostered in probably 50% of leagues, but it's going to go up because he's starting to produce.
3 out of the last 4 weeks over 12.5 points. So definitely someone you want to have.
Definitely. So those are some of the top guys this week. Telvin Smith, I keep talking about him. He's not near the top. He's getting it done for you. He's a 10-point guy, but he's not a 20-point guy anymore.
In the same way with Tremaine Edmonds, though. not getting you the elite production you wanted out of someone that you probably paid the price for. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds, you pick it up in a rookie draft, of course, but he's still keeping you around the top 10 on the year, by keeping those 10 to 12 point games going.
True, and much to your dismay, it looks like Quan Alexander tore his ACL yesterday.
Are you freaking kidding me?
No, you didn't know that?
No,
he's out. He's done.
I didn't. I thought Van Der Esch may have got hurt though, because he put up nothing this week.
Well, Sean Lee came back and they played him.
Oh, well, that's a mistake.
Yep, but Quan does look like he's done for the season. I don't know if Kendall Beckwith is a designation from IR. I can't quite put that together in my head this morning, but if he does come back, that is definitely your replacement.
Yes. If Kendall Beckwith is able to come back from IR, absolute animal. He's going to just everything Quan Alexander was doing, Kendall Beckwith can do.
Yep. So if you need a replacement, and if Kendall Beckwith is a designated to come back guy, I was actually surprised that he was placed on the IR because I didn't think it was that bad, but if he does come back, that's the guy you want. Let's transition on over to defensive backs. Sean Williams, one of the quietest studs of this season, IDP-wise on defense. He was great.
I mean, the Cincinnati defensive backs seem to always put a safety in that top 10 every week. This week it's Sean Williams.
19.75 points, 12 tackles, looking pretty good. Then you've got a lot of cornerbacks that are just one-hit wonders this week. No, Michael Mitchell.
Don't get too excited.
Michael Mitchell comes off the street for Indy and puts up a 17.5-point game. Demarius Randall is a very good player that's been playing well, and he's a top 5 defensive back this week, along with his buddy, Brian Calhoun of Cleveland. Can't even pronounce his name, but he's a free agent in most formats. He's a guy you could add. The Battle of Ohio, Jesse Bates is there. Nothing but Ohio defensive backs.
So we have four in the top
7,
and it's none of the names you expected.
Nope.
Nope.
You don't get much name recognition till you get to the Honey Badger at number 9 and Patrick Peterson at 10. But the guys that you trust, the Jamal Adams of the world, TJ McDonald, Eric Reed, Jabril, not that Jabril's a big name, but those guys, Harrison Smith, still gave you double-digit points. So, I mean, Buda Baker as well, he's in there. But
so to put it in perspective, okay, as bad as we say linebackers are, realizing that you can pick up half of these cornerbacks and safeties for $1.
$1.
All right, legitimately half of them are free agents.
Yeah.
And a 16-teamer with 30 roster spots and 4 taxi squad and full IR, of course.
Yep.
Right now, the 28th, which would be Buda Baker. Anyhow, those guys would all perform as top 11 tight ends. That's how bad the tight end landscape is.
Yep.
You've got guys that only get any production on their stat sheet if they have the ball thrown in their direction. Patrick Peterson. Nobody throws the ball towards Patrick Peterson.
No.
He would have been a top 10 tight end this week.
He would have, if only he played the position. But guys that hurt you, Rashad Jones kind of let me down, unfortunately. Denzel Ward, not a huge game. Eddie Jackson, not a huge game. And that happens. It's the defensive back landscape. You're going to get studs. You're going to get duds. There's nobody. Landon Collins still has yet to play. We got him tonight.
Buda Baker. You expect him to always be towards the top. Landon Collins. We'll see what he does. Yeah, everyone has down weeks. The great Adrian Peterson in his prime had down weeks. So let's just realize that every player at every position has the possibility to lay an egg on you. Don't be too upset. Don't go out and get crazy and sell on any of these stud corners or safeties.
Definitely don't. And that's going to do it for the Monday recap. Going through the fantasy points, going through the fantasy guys. We'll be back with you with a little more of an episode with Nit back in the fold here in a few days. So thanks for listening. Barks out.
Good night.
This concludes another episode of the Back Row Fantasy Show. Thanks for listening, and be sure to give us a review.